I'm Meredith Byrne, and you're watching Burn Alive. What's up, glow getters? Here at Burn Alive, it's never too late to ignite a brighter, healthier self. I'm Meri, or Meredith, a half centurion, single mom, and a word nerd. I am determined to rebuild my life. So, what's this all about, you might ask? Well, after too many years of feeling lost in the chaos, like many of us do, I've decided to reclaim my health, my household, and honestly, my happiness. And if that sounds like something you're working on too, you're in the right place. And maybe we can figure this out and learn how to live alive together. I have several recurring segments planned for Burn Alive. These are topics that matter to me, and I suspect they're going to resonate with you too, you gorgeous glow getters. On today's show, we bring you toot toot executive function junction because living as a grown up with ADHD is challenging. So, in this segment, we're going to try out tools and strategies to hopefully make existence a little bit easier for those among us with shiny glitter neurons. I myself was diagnosed with ADHD and attentive type as an adult, but ADHD has been the backdrop of my entire life. Getting that diagnosis brought me such relief because I realized that so many traits I used to hate about myself, things like being called careless or spacey or annoying, weren't flaws in my character. They're just differences in my wiring. Not good, not bad. And on the other hand, ADHD definitely comes with its own advantages. I am grateful for my insight. I'm grateful for my creativity and my resilience. And I'm also grateful for what I think of as my super empathy. Sometimes that's a little painful, but other times, and most often, I think of it as a strength. But even with a diagnosis and treatment, the ADHD doesn't go away. It's always part of me, part of my programming. Meds and therapy can help, but they don't fix that underlying wiring because it's not something to be fixed. It's just who I am. And those treatments don't change the fact that the world is designed for neurobland thinkers. So I want to talk about ADHD overwhelm. Since my diagnosis, and certainly a few times before, but since my diagnosis, I've experienced maybe two or three significant episodes of ADHD overwhelm. And for me, that is like this flood, like this surge of responsibility, emotion, and guilt that builds up pressure and more pressure. And I'm that one little kid trying to block the hole in the dam. Overwhelm feels heavy. I even feel it physically, especially in my stomach for me. I start anticipating what might happen here or there if I mess up, which only adds to the stress. And eventually, I'm exhausted before I get anything done, before I even start. As a mom, as a professional, as an adult person, these moments can be really embarrassing. People who don't understand can judge that I'm making excuses. But here's the truth. It took me a long time to get here. Their judgment isn't mine to carry. And if you experience ADHD overwhelm, it's not yours to carry either. Let's talk about that shame because there's often shame around ADHD symptoms. For all the lectures that I have received about running late or losing something or forgetting something or forgetting to do something or whatever. What the lecturer didn't realize is that I feel way worse than bystanders when those things happen because I live with myself and with that chaos all the time. I don't like it. I don't want to make a mistake. And in the workplace, there's a whole different level of intensity. And then there's these questions. Do you disclose? Do you ask for help? And if so, do you ask directly? Do you ask indirectly? Or do you keep a secret and just pray? ADHD may be a challenge, but I know that the shame of it in any context is just not helpful. It adds to the burden. And one of the great things for me about being in my 50s, and if you're my age, I hope you feel the same way. And if you're younger, I hope you get there sooner than I did. I get to accept myself. At least that's what I've decided. So I'm kind of done feeling bad about major traits that are outside of my control. All right. That said, my goal is to live my life and live it well. So I want to share with you a strategy that I call one next thing. Now, there's a lot of tools and apps out there for ADHD right now. A bunch of them have been released since the pandemic. And I've tried a few with mixed success, the free versions, because they all cost money. But today, I want to share one low tech approach that consistently helps me get at least a little bit unstuck. And it's free. And I call it, as I said, one next thing. Begrudging credit goes to my best frenemy for this tactic or technique. You'll meet him soon, eventually, maybe. He cooks with his own neurospice blend, and he does not love or enjoy dealing with anyone's emotions. Not his, not other people's. No, thank you. So one day, I was sitting in the passenger seat of his car, freaking out over 10 different things and the exponential possible ramifications of those 10 different things. And he sighed and said, Meri, breathe, which I did. And annoyingly, it helped. And then he asked, what's the one thing you need to do next? And I realized I needed to go home and check on one of my kids. So I told him so. Turned the car around and said, look, there's no point in worrying about the other stuff until you do the one thing. When it's done, you'll have a little more information, and then you can pick the next thing to worry about. One thing. And when that one thing was done, we'd move on to the next. It totally pulled me out of my panic. Since then, this simple strategy has been kind of a lifesaver. So, I want to talk to you about how you can implement the one thing strategy, whether you have a pile of schoolwork or a pile of work, or your life is collapsing around you and you don't know where to start. 4 steps to the one thing strategy, which I know is kind of funny, but still, 4 steps, one thing. First of all, breathe. And I know when my friend said it to me, I very much wanted to punch him in the face, but we don't do that, or I don't do that. I'm a pacifist. But everyone says breathe. I get it. Sometimes it's kind of frustrating, but there's science behind it. Breathing deeply fills all 5 lung lobes, which gives us this brain boosting hit of oxygen. So take a full deep breath and let yourself relax. Let's do it together. That felt nice. I actually like to imagine like that I'm filling up each of the 5 lobes. So I think there's 2 on the left, 3 on the right. You might want to fact check that. But I like to imagine them like filling up and expanding as I'm breathing in, and then like the oxygen kind of like saturating into my body from there. It's nice. All right. Now that you've got that little bit of breath and that little bit of relaxation, do a brain dump. So I use a notebook. You can use the notes app on your phone, pretty much whatever. Doesn't matter if it's high or low tech. But the important thing is that you write down the things that are swirling in your mind, all the things you need to do, all the things that you're worried about, every single thing on your plate, even the thing you're hiding from people, even the thing you are pretending to yourself isn't happening. Write it down. Just get it out of your head and onto the paper or the paper. Um, just get it down, because I promise the relief is real because you're not carrying it. All right. So now you have your list. We're on step 3 already. Isn't that amazing? And step 3 is to choose the one thing. Just pick one thing from the list to do. And if you do that one thing, that's a heck of a lot more than doing nothing. And when you check it off, You've made a little bit of progress. That's an accomplishment. It's okay to feel good about that. And guess what? You can decide to stop for the day after doing that one thing. Or if you're up for it, do a second thing. Honestly, when I'm like at full overwhelm, I like to start with like one or two things a day, maybe build myself up to three or four things, because that's sustainable for me. It feels good. And I'm often surprised to find that even with checking off one or two of those things from that brain dump, I'm making meaningful progress towards my goals. All right. Step 4, have a little grace with yourself. And I know not everybody gives you grace, and I know the world doesn't always give you grace, but you deserve it, and you deserve it from yourself. You're worth it. I'm worth it. So you'll lose your list or your notebook. Maybe you'll accidentally delete the app or you'll miss a day. And guess what? It's going to happen. ADHD is what it is. And planning for that reality gives us room to thrive and start over again. So have grace. You're doing great, and you can start over with step 1 anytime you want. No big deal. So that's what I'm focusing on with Burn Alive, taking charge of my life and my family's future. And creating this video today was my one thing for the day. Posting it tomorrow, it might make tomorrow's list, might not. But if you're seeing this, trust that I am patting myself on the back. Also, this is my inaugural episode of Burn Alive, and I would really, really love to hear your thoughts and suggestions. Please comment below with any other topics you'd like me to cover, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Meanwhile, keep showing up for yourself and shine on. I'm worth the effort, and so are you. Later.